And we are back in the studio today to bring you another wonderful episode number 6 of Random Ear Candy. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, Pickle.
Hello.
Welcome, the other person in the room.
Hey, y'all.
How are y'all doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank y'all for being here. Are y'all ready to have a conversation?
Sure am.
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's have that conversation. Man, it is good to be back in the studio today, recording another episode of Random Ear Candy. We are so excited to be here. Pickle, are you excited to be here?
I am.
The other person in the room, are you excited to be here?
Of course.
I'm excited to be here. I'm so glad you're here, every audience member. Thank y'all for turning us on and turning us up, and please continue to do so. Last episode, we put out a request to the audience to give us some feedback and opinions on a nickname for the wife. And a quick recap, we've been referring to my wife as the wife, and there was a few who weren't very fond of the idea. And so we put it out to y'all, the audience, give us some feedback. And y'all did just that. And we want to say thank you so much for your responses.
There were some really cute ideas.
Sorry for your feedback, for your ideas. They were all wonderful. They were great. And we have settled on a new nickname.
Uh-oh.
For the wife.
Hopefully a good one.
So as of this very moment, we are taking away, I'm air quoting here with my fingers, the wife. And we are now assigning a new nickname. And that new nickname is Sweet Pea.
I love it.
Sweet Pea. So I will be referring to my wife as Sweet Pea. Y'all might refer to her as Mrs. Sweet Pea. And Pickle can refer to her as
Mom.
I guess.
All right. Sweet Pea it is. Now moving on to our new addition in the podcast, a new segment that we are going to call This Day in History. On this day in history, August 16th, 1898, the first patent for the Loop-the-Loop roller coaster was awarded. Did y'all know that the United States Patent Office awarded the patent for the first Loop-the-Loop roller coaster to an American inventor named Edwin Prescott? He first installed it in Coney Island, New York, and the roller coaster was only able to carry 4 people at a time.
That sounds depressing. You can only take so many friends with you.
That's a lot. That's a big difference.
I just think about how far we've come.
And now you carry what, like 20 people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I mean that's pretty cool. 18 I just guess I didn't realize they would even knew what a roller coaster was in 1898.
Well, they probably didn't until this.
I didn't know electricity was invented in the 1890s.
It wouldn't have been electricity.
No, it probably wasn't.
It was probably been a wooden frame and wooden trusses. Yeah.
But my question is, how many casualties did they have in the first year?
Well, you probably know the very first test run, it wouldn't have been no more than 4 people. You know? 4.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, so there's only like 4 calamities there.
I guess that's one plus to being able to just only carry a smaller amount.
Yeah. All right, one more. Moving on, one more. This day in history. On this day in history, August 16th, 1977. Tell me if you knew this. Elvis Presley died at the age of 42.
I did know that.
You knew today was the
I didn't
anniversary?
I didn't know today. I knew he died at 42 years
that's
old.
what I'm talking about today.
Okay, no, I didn't know it was today.
He died on this date, 1977, at the age of 42. He was found deceased at his Graceland mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. The cause of death was a heart attack.
That's so young.
I guess I didn't realize that he was that young when he passed. I didn't. I had no idea.
Well, I knew he was, but it didn't register, I guess, and just how young until just now.
Yes, very young and lots of sad history there. All right, on to today's topic of conversation: dealing with old wives' tales. This idea came to me the other day. I was at work and I was there on my iPad just kind of surfing the web, and I come across the article that made me kind of stop, and it was hard for me to take in because what I was reading had been such a part of my life growing up. My mom had incorporated this into my life, and I was like, man, I cannot wait to go share this article with my wife, with Miss Sweet Pea, because she ain't gonna believe me. She's gonna like be thinking like, yeah, right. But I wanted to bring it to the table today and make it a part of this conversation. And then I think Pickle and Miss Sweet Pea have some things that they want to bring up too, that they want to talk about. But the information in this article that I wanted to mention was dealing with hydrogen peroxide.
Huh.
Hydrogen peroxide. So, the old wives' tale, I guess you could say, would be that we believe when confronted with a cut or some type of a wound, you just dump some hydrogen peroxide on it,
Yeah.
Just
right?
drench
Just-
it. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Absolutely.
like, would your mom always tell you, oh, let's go put some peroxide, let's clean it before we put the band aid
and then
on
some
it?
Neosporin and then the
Right,
bandage.
right.
Yeah.
The whole process, right? But did you know that that is absolutely false?
No.
I did not.
Absolutely false. We are no longer allowed to use hydrogen peroxide on a cut.
Well, I think I have heard of it before, but I still don't believe in it.
Well, this information comes from healthclevelandclinic.org.
Sounds like a trustworthy website.
I'm sure it is. And they say hydrogen peroxide, which we know it as the liquid found in a brown bottle. Hydrogen peroxide is an antiseptic liquid that in the past was typically used to treat cuts or other skin wounds and kill germs. That's what we've all been led to believe.
Of course.
But
That's
the
true.
article goes on to say, however, peroxide is often used in non-medical situations, including for cleaning, disinfecting, and stain removal. So I get the disinfecting and the cleaning. That's kind of what you're doing to your wound, right?
Yeah.
Didn't know about the stain removal. But Dr. Beers, Beebeers, from this website says peroxide can be used everywhere from your kitchen to your bathroom, but keep it away from wounds and acne.
Uh-oh.
Now, I guess I didn't know that hydrogen peroxide was ever used for acne.
I've never used it for
No,
that.
me either.
I had bad acne growing up. I never even knew that that was a thing. So I was out of the loop on that one.
Well, I did know about the stain removal because if you think about toothpaste, different brands of toothpaste use hydrogen peroxide
I didn't know that.
and also mouthwash.
Well, the article goes on to say, Dr. Beers says, don't use it on your wounds. He says, it's time to retire peroxide for first aid duty. Let's all breathe a collective sigh of relief.
I just want to know how many children he has because I feel like that anything that bubbles and burns that bad should be doing that some kind of good.
I always wondered what was up because mom would always like dump that stuff all over my cut and it would sting. She's like, "Oh, that means it's working." It's like bubbling up and fizzing. And
So
I wasn't wrong. It did work.
So listen to what it does. Dr. Beers says hydrogen peroxide has fallen out of favor as a wound cleanser. He says studies have found that it actually irritates the skin.
it irritated me.
And listen, the best part of all, it may prevent the wound from healing,
Ooh.
doing more harm than good.
That's not good.
I don't know. All of our wounds have healed so far.
So do you find this hard to accept?
Yes.
No.
Why?
Because none of us are left with oozing wounds. Our wounds have all healed, and
Yes.
we've used hydrogen peroxide for
Yes,
years.
but
They could have healed faster if we didn't use hydrogen
I won't-
peroxide.
Hush.
a wound is going to naturally heal. All right. But being there has been scientific evidence, does this change your mind on whether you will use hydrogen peroxide in the future or not?
I'm probably still going to use it.
Even though scientific research says that it does more harm than good. And actually, when I was looking at this research, I actually found another article that said it aids to scarring.
Well, I don't have very many scars, and all of my wounds have healed, and that's only one scientist. So,
Well, this was only one article. I actually saw in my research before bringing this to the podcast, there was an abundance of information on how people just didn't know that back in the day it was a bad thing.
You've got me sold.
I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. It's going to feel so wrong to not use it.
I would love to present this to my mom because it was so ingrained in her. As I was a child growing up, I mean, she lived and breathed by the stuff. I mean, there was always a brown bottle under the bathroom sink. you know,
Yes.
for
Well,
that
all
reason.
she has to do is listen to this podcast to find out the bad news.
All right. Well, what did you have, Miss Sweet Pea?
Well, the first thing I have is something that I heard when I was growing up. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this or not, but I heard that cats can steal from a baby's mouth, can steal air from a baby's mouth.
I've never heard of that.
I've never heard that in my
I
life.
know y'all probably haven't, but I
Does
did.
does
Is
this
that literal? Like literally steal air from the baby's mouth?
So the warning was that you shouldn't allow cats to sleep with your children because they would snuggle up next to them and suffocate them. And
I wouldn't want to sleep with a cat anyway.
I
That'd
know.
be a hairy experience.
Well, some people do want to, but fortunately for people who do want to sleep with a cat, it's false. There's no truth to this. It just
So the cat sleepers are safe to go.
yeah.
So back to this being an old wives' tale, and you said that you weren't supposed to let cats sleep with your children because they could rob the air. Okay, I get it if that was ever a thing, but was there ever any concern with the cat stealing the air from an adult human?
Well, no, it's always had to do with children, but it just goes back hundreds of years to a time when cats were more associated with things like witchcraft and evil spirits. And so really what was probably happening was that although there were children who died, they probably just died from sudden infant death syndrome or something like that.
Yeah, I don't see the difference in a cat snuggling up to you and then a kid holding a stuffed animal right up against them while they sleep.
But I wouldn't recommend like sticking a cat in your newborn baby's crib or anything like that.
I don't want a cat anywhere near my bed while I'm sleeping.
By the way, this information came from childrensmn.org.
I have a cat hair phobia. I don't.
You run shrieking and screaming when you see cat hair?
If I see a cat hair, I want to see it on the cat. I have a fear of it being on my clothes and on my furniture and on my counters.
We know.
That's just them shedding love.
And worst of all, I have a fear of someone that I know, if I know them and they have a cat in their home, eating some food and finding a cat hair in it.
It's just
I'm-
a little extra
I'm
fiber.
just-
Some protein.
I'm not a cat lover. Sorry, y'all.
I like cats.
I'm not.
We're
just
gonna
not in my
lose
bed.
listeners now.
All right. Pickle, you had one, didn't you?
Yeah, I do. I have one from the same website, children's smn.org. Some of y'all might already know this, but my old wives' tale is eating carrots will improve your eyesight.
I've heard that, and I would say as of right now, before you go any further, I would say that's true because that's been ingrained in me.
I thought it was true too. Is it
So,
true?
That's false.
Really?
This tale actually it started during World War II when the British intelligence spread a rumor that their pilots had remarkable night vision because they said their pilots ate a lot of carrots. They didn't want the Germans to know that they were using radar. And so, I mean, they could have used any vegetable they wanted, but for some reason they chose carrots.
This is another one of those things that my mom really, I don't know if she really just talked about it all the time, but she was a believer of carrots improve your eyesight.
So carrots and many other vegetables do contain vitamin A, which is healthy for your eyes, but it does not improve your eyesight.
Well, I remember growing up believing and thinking that if you ate a bunch of carrots, you had great eyes. If you consumed lots of carrots, you like had automatically was like gonna have 20/20 vision. In fact, I even remember as a young child, remembering my mom was gonna set up an eye appointment for me, and I remember a week before I purposely ate a bunch of carrots.
Did you really?
Yes, thinking that it would help me with my eye appointment.
Let me go home.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have another one.
What's that?
I have one, and I don't even know if it would fit under the category of an old wives' tale, but this is something that actually came up in a conversation with me and Sweet Pea just a couple weeks ago, and this is to do with heat lightning.
Oh, I remember this conversation.
So we were just driving down the road, and we looked up in the distance, and maybe Sweet Pea mentioned, "Oh, look! We just saw this lightning way off in the distance,
like a sheet of lightning."
Not a sheet.
No,
I've never seen a sheet of lightning.
It looks different than that.
But just random lights just flickering way off in the distance.
Okay.
And Sweet Pea said something about maybe that's heat lightning, or look at the heat lightning. And I remember from a couple of years ago reading something and discovering that, y'all ready for this? There is no such thing as heat lightning.
It's frost lightning.
I just have a hard time believing that there's not.
And I remember at that point in the conversation, Miss Sweet Pea didn't believe me, and so I had to get on my phone and I had to prove to her that there is no such thing as heat lightning. So I know that this is a thing. I used to refer to it as heat lightning. One of those things that growing up, you were told something and you just believe it all your life.
Well, what is it then? Is it just regular lightning really far away?
So there is no such thing as heat lightning. And this information comes from WFLA.com. And this article says, technically, there is no such thing as heat lightning. It says, those flashes of light are real lightning strikes from a thunderstorm.
Huh.
All right? So you're not going to have lightning without a thunderstorm. So there's a thunderstorm somewhere. It says, however, those thunderstorms can be quite far away. Tens and even sometimes hundreds of miles away.
Oh.
Which is why you don't hear the thunder.
Oh, so you just
you see the lightning.
Watching. Yeah, I get you.
You don't hear the thunder. Yeah. It says when the storms are that far away, the curvature of the earth blocks most of the thunderstorm.
Oh, that's cool.
It says those storms are towering 40 to 60,000 feet up in the atmosphere.
Oh.
So instead of seeing the actual lightning bolt, you're seeing the reflective flashes of lights in the clouds at the top of the thunderstorm.
Oh, okay.
It says if you were close enough to the thunderstorm, you would be able to see the bolt of lightning.
That's awesome. I can't imagine a storm being that tall. I know
then,
there's lots of them, but...
And then it says that there is no thunder because the sound dissipates quickly as it spreads outwards. And it says that if you were close enough to the storm, you'd be able to hear it, but the sound stops about 10 miles out from the source in those circumstances.
Just like the sound just like fades out.
So we had that conversation, and I got to prove to Sweet Pea
his favorite thing
that there was no such thing as heat lightning, and it kind of made me feel all giddy inside that I was right again,
and she was wrong.
And anyway, I was right. If y'all didn't know, I was.
Why don't you say it one more time?
We know now. You can say it one more time.
I was right in that.
There you go.
All right. But so anyway, after that conversation, about 2 weeks after that conversation, I was somewhere and I was talking to a good friend of mine, and it was late at night, and we looked out in the distant sky, and we saw these flashes of light. And,
I remember that. It was really pretty.
And he said, my friend says, "Wow, look at all that heat lightning."
And you got excited because you thought, "Here I go
It's
again.
my time to shine."
And I was like, "Can I bust your bubble?" And he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "There's no such thing as heat lightning." And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And then I went on to tell him about the conversation that I had had with my wife in the vehicle and how I got to prove to her that there was no such thing. And I went on to explain it to him, and he was like, "Wow." He's like, "I never knew that." I mean, he's my age, so he's been believing this for 39, 40 years that,
I would have been too if you wouldn't have told me.
I mean, it's just been a thing.
So basically, you just love to pop people's bubbles.
He prefers the word educating people.
Well, so then listen. So look, so that's my friend, right? And he's my age, and I told him, and I enjoyed telling him. No lie, here about a week ago, I was on my way to my job, and our carpool with this elderly gentleman,
You better hope he doesn't listen to this.
quite a bit older than me. In fact, he's like 61, 62 years old.
That's not elderly.
That's
so-
like retirement age. That's not elderly
So listen,
yet.
but real nice guy and everything. I respect him. He's my elder, and we're driving home one night from work, or early morning hours. We had worked the night shift, and we're coming home, and we look off in the distance, and what does he see?
Heat lightning.
He sees all these flashes of light in the sky, and he's like, "Wow, that heat lightning really is popping tonight."
Poor guy. He
You
didn't
know-
know what he was setting
you know-
himself up for.
You know, I didn't have the heart to tell him.
Uh-oh.
I didn't have the heart.
So there's
was
a
like-
62-year-old out there that still believes in heat lightning.
Yeah, you're right.
Unless he's listening to
Let
this.
him down.
Unless
There's-
he's listening to this
you
right
know,
now.
I didn't have the heart to tell him that, hey man, that's not heat lightning. To this day, he still thinks that.
Just send him this episode link and say, look, I think there's something here
Well,
you need to listen to.
And I wonder, it's like, I mean, I really did want to tell him, but it's like he so believed in this.
That was his passion.
I mean, this was gospel to him, that he could look in the sky, see flashlight. I mean, he was so confident. I mean, he was like, "Oh wow, look at all that heat lightning." And it's like, man, I can't steal that confidence from him.
No, it's fine. He's still doing fine, even though he believes that.
I didn't want to bust his bubble and steal his confidence. You know, I guess it's
Yeah.
just something about him being like old or that much older than me. It's like there was still a little bit of respect there. I didn't want him to come crashing
Hold
down.
on. So
I didn't want him to come crashing down.
So you're saying you respected him, that's why you didn't tell him. So what does that mean that you think about me?
Do what?
You said the reason you
Well,
didn't
you're his
tell
wife,
him.
so
well,
he's
but
allowed
see-
to. Yeah.
But you're young enough.
I'm older than you.
Yes, but
I'm your elder.
sometimes there are certain people that
I think you just dug yourself in a
that
hole.
need to be corrected.
No, I'm with Chip on this one. There's like if you're close enough to a certain person, you have to let them know the truth.
The truth needs to be known.
Let the truth
well,
be free.
It burst my bubble. So there.
All right. Sweet Pea, did you have another one?
I do. This is for all the moms out there. I was raised with my mom telling me this, and I thought it was true. But my 11-year-old is going to be happy to know that it's not true. Okay, this old wives' tale says that you should wait an hour after eating before swimming. What do y'all think?
I've heard that, and I've heard that was debunked. I remember a couple years ago I heard it was debunked.
I heard it, and I heard different opinions on it, and I always just kind of ignored it.
But I was told that growing up. So what's
Right.
the conclusion?
I was told it too, but I haven't enforced it with my children. It's false. You don't have to wait. They don't have to wait an hour. I don't think they have to wait at all. I mean, it just says if you've had a big meal, then you should maybe wait until digestion has begun.
So So
But
what is the idea
I mean,
behind?
don't go like do a belly flop or anything.
So what's the idea? What was the thinking of why we needed to wait? Do you know?
it doesn't say. I think people just thought you would get like a bad bellyache from another website that
all
I
the
had read.
activity, yeah.
You know, I think that is probably. I mean, I know better because I do remember reading something about that several years ago.
Yeah.
But our youngest child, our 11-year-old kid number 3, actually had a friend over several weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to go. I remember overhearing their little conversation,
Yeah.
and they had just ate lunch, and his friend said, I guess I need to wait. My mom would rather me wait because I just ate. She wants me to wait like 15 minutes or whatever before I get in the pool. So that being said, I still think that there are a lot of people who use that as a guideline.
Just like subconsciously, like
Yeah.
they probably don't have a reason. They're just
They just
That's
They
just
did
what
it
you
because
do.
they were told to do it. And by the way, this was on that same website, childrensmn.org.
all right. Pickle, you had one more?
I do. This is from the same website as well. This is something I've been told all my life, especially by my grandmothers. Reading in dim light will damage your eyes.
That's true, isn't it?
Okay. Hold on. Before you go any further, I feel like you're fixing to tell me that that's false. But as of right now, before you speak anymore, I would still today think that that's true.
Me too.
It's false. It's
Really?
completely false. It said, although reading in dimly lit room won't do any harm, good lighting can help preventing eye fatigue. So it will help you stay awake, but it does not make any. It does
Wow.
not cause any damage to your eyes at all.
Okay. I don't even have
I
words
didn't
right
know
now.
that. I was cautioned over and over because I was a bookworm growing up, and I was cautioned over and over again to read in good light so it wouldn't hurt my eyes.
That is one of those things that is just. It was such.
I was surprised when I saw
It was
this.
such a part of your life.
I know.
I mean
I'm starting to question a lot of things.
Yeah, it makes you
now.
second guess everything.
it's
You're
like I want to question this website.
I mean, first carrots and then heat lightning and now
because
this.
because you believe this wholeheartedly your whole life.
I mean, this is
until
like
right
scripture
now.
in the Bible. I mean, like,
well, not quite.
like dim light hurts your eyes. Like that's a no. Don't do
Yeah,
it.
like if you you don't want to be blind when you get older.
You know what? I would
so-
love to present all this to my mom and get her reaction.
All you gotta do is
I
teach her how to
think-
get to the
Because she lives and breathes all of this
podcast.
stuff.
I think she would. She would question all these
I
sources.
think she would argue with the website.
She would definitely. She definitely
She would question the website for sure.
Wow, that I have no words. I did not know that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Sweet Pea, didn't you have one more?
I do. This one's interesting too, and this is something that I still practice today. And I think a lot of people I know practice this. Have you ever heard of the 5-second rule?
I have.
If you drop your food
Yeah.
and
You
you
got
say,
5 seconds. Well, I've heard of the 10-second rule.
it's the 5-second rule.
5 seconds.
So you said you practice it today. Do you really feel like in your mind if you could get it up before 5 seconds it's okay?
Well, not necessarily. It's just like something that you say. You see a child drop some food and you're like, oh, 5-second rule, hurry, pick it
like
up.
it's good. Protein.
I've heard that. I guess I didn't actually. I've never taken it literally and used that as a decision of whether I'm still going to eat something or not. But
Well, there's probably children out there who really do think it's a literal thing.
yeah, I've heard it, and
It's false. I mean, it says
Yeah.
that scientists from Rutgers University found that bacteria transfers to food starting immediately.
that reminds me.
And this is from goodhousekeeping.com.
I think you know what. That reminds me. I think MythBusters did an episode on that.
Oh, that sounds like something they would do.
They did an episode on that, and I don't. You know how MythBusters always did so many trial runs of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they dropped something on the floor and they timed it all out
Uh-huh.
and they proved what you're saying,
Right.
that a millisecond or a second on the floor picks up just as much germ.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just,
Right.
that's something that we always did.
So all you parents out there are infecting your kids every time you tell them 5-second rule.
Shush.
Well, that's I knew that was busted from years ago. So Anyway,
Okay.
well, this has been fun. This
It
was
has.
this was fun,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take the humble road here and say I learned a little something today.
What?
It's not very often that Pickle teaches me a little
Y'all
something.
record this. Come back and listen to this often. We don't hear this often.
Cut that clip out and like play every time you learn
Yes.
something.
I did. Pickle was actually able to learn me a little something today. Good job, Pickle.
Teach you.
Yep, good job, Pickle.
Great job. So now what I have for y'all is if you have an old wives' tale that you know or you've heard of throughout your life, we want to know. Send us your stories about old wives' tales to any of our social media contacts. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We have email. Email us at randomearcandy.com. Any of those avenues.
We got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
Yep, all those things.
YouTube.
Yep. No, we don't have YouTube.
We don't
Yeah, we
have
do.
YouTube.
We do. All right, we have YouTube, but we're not utilizing it. It's just a blank screen with
It's blank. There's
audio.
nothing on there. But we
Yep.
do have a channel, so if you want to follow it, you can. But there's nothing there.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you, everyone on the other side of this microphone
Thank
for
you.
for being here,
Yeah, thanks,
for
guys.
turning us up and turning us on.
Yep.
Thank you, Pickle. Thank you, Sweet Pea.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I had fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this conversation today. I'm looking forward to the next time.
Me too.
Yes, sir.
Y'all go out there, pull someone to the side. Y'all have that conversation too. We'll talk to y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
Goodbye.